The Atlanta, Denver, Houston, Minnesota trade, 12 players, is the biggest NBA deal since the Knicks moved Patrick Ewing to Seattle in 2000, according to Bobby Marks.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball podcast brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd and I am the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com and at Yahoo Sports Australia. And you can find me on Twitter as always at redrock_bball and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Well, I just finished recording the usual recap show. Put the upload button just about to go, and of course Woj and Shams just stick me right over and announce a trade and then keep announcing trades and then keep announcing trades and then keep announcing trades. And in the end, we have got it all settled with 4 teams involved in a huge deal. Michael Bolton, he stayed up for it.
Let's get to it.
Let's get to it indeed. So we all know this trade that went down between the Atlanta Hawks, the Denver Nuggets, the Houston Rockets, and the Minnesota Timberwolves. Lots of things happening. I'm going to try and break down as much as I can just in this short term here as to what we've figured out and what I think is going to happen. Of course, all that stuff will be adjusted. All the projections are updated over on Basketball Monster as well. If something over there you think doesn't look right, let me know what it is. Don't say, hey, this guy's ranked too high or too low. Tell me what you think looks off about the projections and how the minutes look, and I'll have a look at it, and then we can talk about it and go from there. But let's have a look at how this trade went down. We'll start off by what's happening on the Houston side of things, and they do receive Robert Covington. They also receive Jordan Bell. They traded out Clint Capela. They traded out Nene. And they traded out Gerald Green, 2 guys who haven't played a single game this season. Green is going to be waived by the Nuggets, while Nene, he wasn't going to play because of the weird contract thing. He won't play for Atlanta either. So realistically, we're talking about Capela going out, and we're talking about Covington and Bell coming in. Now, before let's start it, I've had multiple people tweet this. Jordan Bell will not be the starting center for the Houston Rockets. PJ Tucker will be. Bell was not even playing in Minnesota, a team that's lost about 1 million games in a row. Bell showed flashes as a rookie and has been disappointing the last 2 seasons. He might get into the rotation, but he is not going to be a piece. Isaiah Hartenstein is not their new starting center. PJ Tucker is their starting center. We have seen this over the last week or so where Capela has been out. Their lineup will be, most likely, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, Eric Gordon, Robert Covington, PJ Tucker. Now, you could slot House in there for Gordon if you wanted to, but that will be the starting 5. The bench unit, Austin Rivers, Ben McLemore, Daniel House. That is their 8-man rotation. You might get 2 minutes of Tabo Cephalosha or Jordan Bell or Isaiah Hartenstein in there, but they're not 12-team league guys. So, what happens and who loses value? Now, a lot of people are saying, Daniel House increases value. I don't believe that he does. Capela's out, Covington's in. That's where the value is. Now, House's value has gone up with Capela out, and a lot of people are referencing that. Hey, look how much his value's gone out with Capela out, and that is 100% true. And Capela's not there anymore. But Covington comes in and takes those minutes. So House goes back to that role where he's scrounging with McLemore and Gordon for those small forward minutes and backup power forward minutes. So he loses a bit of value from he gains probably a bit of value overall and loses value from what's happened in the short term when Capela's been injured. So to me, House is a borderline 12-team league ad and a definite 14-team league guy. PJ Tucker had a good game today with a double-double, but the previous games without Capela, trash. I'm not overreacting to it. I'm not going and saying, well, now he's their starting center. He has been their starting center, and he has not been putting up good numbers in that role. He can be a steal streamer. He can occasionally hit threes, but replacing House with Covington doesn't all of a sudden make Tucker a much better player. He had that 13 and 10 double-double today as he started at center. The game before that, 0 and 9. The game before that, 6 and 1, 5 and 9, 9 and 10, 5 and 8. Nothing really all that exciting with any of those numbers there for Tucker. Nothing really changes there in my mind. So he remains like that 14-team league guy, back-end 12-team league player. As for Covington, I think his minutes go up. D'Antoni's not one to really ease off the pedal here, so he's going to play more minutes. Therefore, his numbers will go up. His usage will probably drop a little bit. I'd expect that. He's going to be bombing shitloads of threes, He's going to get steals. He'll get some rebounds because he's playing more power forward and PJ Tucker's the guy next to him. So he's going to have to probably get more rebounds as well, I believe, in Houston. I think Covington's got a real chance to be a top 30 player the rest of the way here. Westbrook, his rebounds are going to go up as well. I think part of this deal of getting rid of Capela is saying, Russ, go and get him. And I think he's going to be back to averaging double-digit rebounds. So I think his rebound numbers are going to go up. So in terms of an add on this team, nobody. You can go and add House if you want. You can go and add Gordon if you want. In the end, they're going to be back-end guys, in my opinion. Remember, Covington replaces Capela. House does not replace Capela. Tucker does not replace Capela. They were already doing what they were doing. They were getting their minutes. Covington replaces Capela. Nene wasn't in the rotation. Green wasn't in the rotation. Bell won't be in the rotation on most nights. That is how I see it for the Houston Rockets side of things. Let's go to the Atlanta Hawks, where they lose Evan Turner. I'm not going to go through all the draft picks. There's so much to talk about there. Evan Turner's gone from Atlanta. Clint Capela comes in. Pretty simple. And Nene comes in. He's not going to play. It's a pretty simple deal. So, Capela comes in. He's the starting center. The big question, what happens to the Baptist John Collins? Well, he's going to have to play nearly all of his minutes at power forward now. It's going to, of course, hurt Bruno Fernando, Alex Len, and Damian Jones. They're losing a ton of minutes. Right, they'll probably be out of the rotation. Jones won't play. Fernando might not play, or Len might not play. No value in really any of those guys now. John Collins goes from center to power forward. It also hurts Cam Reddish, by the way, because when Collins would push to center, Reddish would get those minutes, and he'll probably, instead of being a 28, 29-minute guy, might be a 26-minute guy. It hurts Bembry. It hurts Jeff Teague as well.
My name is Jeff.
But the big one people want to know is what it does to Collins. I think it's going to reduce his rebounding as well. But the thing we also have to remember is adding Capela, who's a really good rebounder, is a factor. Collins is also one of the best rebounders, especially offensive rebounders in the NBA. So there's a decent chance that he hurts Capela more than Capela hurts him. He is an absolute beast on the boards. I think both of them suffer a bit of a hit with their rebounds, and I think Collins' block numbers are going to be what comes down quite considerably here. So going from a guy who is the 22nd ranked player, I think he moves outside the top 30 here for the rest of the season. Capela, fairly stagnant. I do think, as I said, I think his rebound's coming down. He's not playing next to PJ Tucker anymore. He's playing next to John Collins, a really bloody good rebounder. So he is going to lose some rebounds there. I think his minutes are fine. I think everything else is going to stay pretty much the same. You got Harden passing to you, or you got Trae Young. Still really good. There's a chance that his usage could increase here, Capela in Atlanta, but overall, he stays relatively stagnant. He's the 38th ranked player over the course of the season. I think he's around that zone again as we move forward. So that they are the two big names, Capela and Covington, and that's how I see their two teams shaking out here. On to Denver, who made quite a few moves. They acquire Shabazz Napier from the Minnesota Timberwolves. They acquire Noah Vonleh. They acquire and waive Gerald Green, and they also get Keita Bates-Diop. So they lose Malik Beasley and Juancho Hernan-Gomez and Jared Vanderbilt. Three guys who, Juancho, not every night rotation guy, Vanderbilt definitely not, Beasley, not even a definite every night rotation guy. So in general, these guys that come in, Vonleh, Bates-Diop, and Napier, they're not guaranteed to be rotation players every night, because their rotation will be the Blue Arrow Jamal Murray, Gary Harris, Farton Will Barton, Paul Millsap, Big Chungus Nikola Jokic. There's your starting five. Behind them, Monty Morris, Torrey Craig, Michael Porter Jr., Jeremy Grant, Mason Plumlee. There's your 10-man rotation. No Napier, no Bates-Diop, no Vonleh. Shabazz Napier, this is what I talked about with him saying, yeah, he's a strong ad, but he's he is likely not to be a starting point guard by the time the trade deadline is done, and he's not. He's a drop. These other guys, they don't really have an impact. Bates-Diop, I thought, was a chance to have some value in Minnesota, but he's gone now, so he moves into the Jared Vanderbilt role, and that is do nothing. Or into the Juancho Hernan-Gomez role. When everyone's healthy, do nothing. It probably helps Porter a little bit because it consolidates some of those guys where Beasley would come in some nights, play 20 minutes and not play. It probably helps Morris a little bit there as well. And maybe Napier can get a 15, 16 minute a night role. Maybe. We don't know that at this point how they're going to roll that. But again, Porter, Craig, Morris, Grant, Plumlee. That's five bench guys who I'd have to say are all ahead of Napier in that rotation. Now, of course, Millsap's hurt, Plumlee's hurt at the moment, Porter's hurt at the moment, so there is short-term minutes available for some of these guys, and Napier's probably going to be that guy, but it's not going to be enough to have an impact in any sort of 12-teamer. So I think Porter gains a couple of extra minutes here as well. Grant probably gains a couple of extra also, as we don't get much. Torrey Craig can push down to the 2 a little bit more as well, as Porter can play the 3. So those guys who are on the periphery, this from Denver, this is more of a, we just want to do these blokes right and send them to a spot where they can get a lot more minutes. And that's going to be the case in Minnesota. So overall, I don't think really much changes there. Yeah, Porter, if he's healthy, probably still is a 12-team league hold. Jeremy Grant is a hold while Millsap is out. We don't know how that's going to go. Morris a drop, Napier a drop. Craig had no value anyway. Vonleh, Bates, Diop, they're not really doing anything on this squad. And then the big one, where all the value seems to be occurring, is in Minnesota as they acquire Malik Beasley, they acquire Juancho Hernan-Gomez, they acquire Evan Turner as well, although he's not likely to be too much of a part of the rotation. So they lose Shabazz Napier, they lose Robert Covington, they lose Jordan Bell. 2 starters gone after they've already traded away Jeff Teague. So how's their starting 5 going to look? Well, I don't know, but I assume it's going to be Andrew Wiggins at point guard or small forward, however you want to call it, Malik Beasley, who is not a point guard, and Jarrett Culver. They'll be your 1, 2, 3. So 3 shooting guard size players playing the 1, 2, and 3. Culver will handle the ball a lot. He's been terrible lately. Wiggins, also terrible. And of course, we can't rule out that there is another trade coming here. I don't think D'Angelo Russell is coming to Minnesota, but they still want to go get someone else. So all of this about Minnesota could change. But how I see it at the moment, Culver, Wiggins, Beasley, Juancho at the 4, Towns at the 5. No, I don't think Gorgie Dieng is coming in and starting at the 4 or 5 and pushing Towns across and playing 25 minutes. No, I don't. He might get a couple of extra minutes. That's really it. Jared Vanderbilt, will he be a part of the rotation? Probably not. Could he move, though, into the role behind Juancho? Maybe, but remember, that's Jake Layman's role when he eventually ever gets healthy from stubbing his toe or whatever nonsense happened there. Maybe Vanderbilt can get some short-term minutes there. I think Keelan Martin's a chance to get some of that playing time, and maybe Dieng gets a couple of extra minutes. They did lose Bates, Diop, and Covington. They're 2 power forwards. Hernan-Gomez comes in. Layman will come back from injury and jump in there, but in the meantime, Vanderbilt probably can come in and be the backup power forward there, while Towns and Dieng are your centers. Bell wasn't playing anyway. And then Napier loses those 30 minutes, and Beasley picks up those minutes. So Beasley, to me, is a pretty hot ad. I think he plays 30 minutes a night here. Now, he's not going to do huge amounts outside of score and hit threes, but that can be valuable. His steal rate is up this season. Now, he's not a rebounder. He doesn't get assists. He doesn't block shots. He doesn't really get to the line all that much, although that will improve with more minutes. I think he is a really strong ad, and I think Juancho is someone that we can look at as an ad as well. Now, Juancho hasn't had the best of seasons. I would prioritize Beasley over Juancho after going through and doing the projections on these guys. He comes out a lot stronger, but it's not to say that Juancho can't be a 12-team league guy as those minutes push up, but for now, I would look at Beasley stronger there. But again, it is really tied to can he get the shots that I think he can get, and can he put up the numbers that I think he can get as well. And that would overall obviously help his level of production. So that is, at this point, how I see the trade. I think, look, there's a chance that Josh Okogie starts over Malik Beasley. I don't think that's the direction they will go. He's still probably going to get his 26 minutes a night and be a steals-type streamer player, but that's probably about it. Layman's only going to be a deeper league guy. The blue swimmer, Alan Crabb, not useful. Dieng and McLaughlin, I don't really think they're going to come in and start Jordan McLaughlin. As I said, Culver, Wiggins, Beasley, Hernan-Gomez, Towns. Then you have Okogie in that rotation. You have Dieng. You have Crabb. And then you probably have Vanderbilt or McLaughlin or Keelan Martin at the back end there. Evan Turner not really having too much to say would be my guess with it. So that is at this point how I see it all shaking out with this trade. Again, the adjustments have been made over on Basketball Monster, so you can go and check them out and have a discussion and see what you think may or may not be right with those numbers. And that'll be interesting to see your thoughts on that. Don't forget, subscribe, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube. Give me a comment down below. Tell me what you think of this absolute monster deal in the NBA. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya. Adrian Wojnarowski.